So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about positive thinking. And it can have amazing effects if you choose to be positive, So first of all, you have to start every day out with positive affirmations. Like, today is going to be amazing. I have this to be thankful for. I have this to be thankful for. Just the basics, but focus on all the good things. Find humor in the bad situations. Whatever it is that you are dealing with, whether it be phantasmally amazing or just bad, handle it with humor. If you can't laugh at yourself, then no one's going to laugh with you because they're going to be too worried about you being offended because you'll think they're laughing at you. Well, what you need to do is, say you messed up at work, say you dropped some cups, just go, whoops, guess I dropped some cups. Sorry to cost you a couple extra bucks. I'll clean this right up, sir. My bad. My apologies. And maybe find a little humor, oops, clumsy me. And guess what? You're going to feel a lot better than if you were just be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm such a horrible employee. How could I ever pay? No, stop. Get your act together. Come on. Laugh at yourself because I'm laughing at you. I'm kidding. Mostly. I will laugh at you, but I won't laugh out loud at you. Just a little bit. Because you don't need to have a bad attitude all the time. You can find the positivity in any situation if you so choose to look. If you're going to look for yellow cars, you're going to find yellow cars. If you look for red cars, you're going to find red cars. If you're not looking for anything, you're not going to find anything. It's a rather simple situation. But, if you look for the positive, you're going to find the positive. And that's the problem I found with this generation especially, is we are no longer looking for the positive as much as I would assume we should be. We have a lot of depression, and granted, holy shit, this is a very justifiably depressing era. Our economy's crashing, we're dealing with all of these, the pandemic, for Pete's sake. We have so much crap to be depressed about. But we can make the best of a bad situation to the best of our ability, or we can allow ourselves to be affected by the negative. And yes, I understand that it is entirely valid to be depressed and to be dealing with mental illnesses during these times. I'm not invalidating that at all. What I'm saying is there's not really anything else you can do except look for the positive. We can't change the world being in a pandemic right now. Trust me, I believe that if there was a single person in this world that could just sit down and fix the pandemic, they would have done it already, unless they're part of the greedy capitalists. That's a different conversation. But we have to look for the positive. There's literally no one else in your life that's going to make you happy besides yourself. You're the only one that's going to make yourself happy. At the end of the day, you come home to yourself. You have to choose happiness because no one else is going to choose that for you. I believe it was Will Smith. I saw post something about him and Jada Pinkett Smith. And the thing is, they don't look for happiness within each other. They have happiness on their own and then bring it together to form this beautiful bond and joy within that bond. That is very relevant. You have to find that happiness within yourself. If you can't find it alone, all you're going to do is depend on someone else. And what happens when it gets too much for them? When you're entirely depending all of your happiness onto one person, you're projecting all of this responsibility onto one person, and they have to keep themselves happy and you happy. You're going to keep taking away from them if you can't find joy on yourself. And if you really love someone, you're not going to sit there and just take everything they have to give and not give anything back. Yes, there's times where there's a 50-50, and there's times when there's a 70-30. But it shouldn't constantly be an improper ratio. You should always be having each other's backs to the best of your ability and understand that only sometimes, and sometimes it's a lot longer than you think, and sometimes it's not as long as you think. Sometimes they need that extra bit of happy, that extra bit of joy, that extra bit of support. That is something that will happen. But if it's a constant state of them carrying you, them trying to keep you happy, while trying to keep themselves happy, while trying to continue to do all of these different things, you're going to fail. You are going to fail because they're going to get fed up with having to be the only supply, the only battery in this entire relationship, whether it be a friendship or a genuine romantic relationship. You have to find that joy within yourself, whether it be finding a hobby. You don't have to be entirely dependent on another person to find your joy. You are the only one that is in charge of your emotions. Genuine. You are the only person that is going to make your attitude change. You're the only person that can choose to have a good attitude. You're the only person that can choose to milk out a 5-minute instance for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, the rest of the month, the rest of the year, the rest of your life. You are the only one in charge of that. So what you have to do is you have to wake up with that positive affirmation. I'm going to do great today. I'm going to do fantastic today. I will face challenges. I will make mistakes, but I'm human and I will learn and I will try to avoid repeating the same mistakes I made before. You can do that. You are fully capable. Yes, you who is listening to this right now, who may or may not know me at all, or have never heard of me in your life, you can choose to be happy. That is something you can do. And I understand that there are some people where it is a genuine chemical imbalance. And there's only so much you can do with that. I understand. But unless you have been diagnosed to have a chemical imbalance, unless you have been to the moon and back trying everything, genuinely trying everything, not just sitting down and going like, well, I tried that, when you only tried for about 15 minutes and it didn't give you the life-changing results you wanted. Happiness takes work. You have to work your ass off to actually be happy. It's not just wake up one day and suddenly everything's sunshine and rainbows. No. When I was 17, I broke up with a boyfriend. It was a toxic relationship for the both of us, as I've stated before. And I was negative. I was toxic. I was not a good person. But I was tired of being sad. I was tired of being anxious. I was tired of having to battle my depression on a constant basis. I was never happy. And so I spent every single day after that breakup, I'd go into work and I had had that horrible work ethic, but I'd come into work after this breakup with this attitude like, I am going to kick ass today. I am going to be the best at what I can do. I may screw up. I may not do all of my work in the time frame that may be preferred, but I'm going to do it. And I spent every single freaking day, every single day for months, literal months, finding stuff that I had to face about myself that I didn't like and working my ass off to be better about it. And that included my negative attitude, my victimizing attitude. I was the victim. I was always the victim. And that was only suppressing my progress. I could move forward if I just accepted that I messed up and own responsibility for the things that I did and continued to move forward. You have to face yourself and you have to accept that you are flawed and you have to accept yourself for those flaws and then work on them. The best way I can put this, you may not be the best person in the room, but you can love yourself the most in that room. You can be the person most comfortable in your body in that room. And you'll have an edge that other people don't have. If you're comfortable in your body and you know you want to make progress, you have to accept yourself. You have to understand that you're flawed. You don't have to hold yourself to these super high standards of, I need to be perfect by Tuesday of next month. Like, no, it takes time. You have to work very hard, but it pays off so well. You can be the kindest person in the room. You don't have to be the prettiest. You don't have to be the quietest. You can be the kindest. And that takes work of just being more positive with everything. Laugh at yourself. Like, focus on those good things instead of just like, yeah, this bad thing happened today, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be sad about this for the next 45 minutes. Who knows? World record, maybe even go for an hour. Like, no, dude, please, please do yourself a favor. Get up, brush the wallow off your shoulders. Like, fine, wallow for a couple minutes, that's whatever. But I only care about you being happy. That's all I care about. I don't care about how this benefits me. I don't genuinely give a shit. What I care about is you doing the best you can to make yourself happy. Be happy after you've put in the work. Like, you can be happy now, fine, whatever, but you have to put in the work for that. You have to face yourself. You have to accept yourself, love yourself, and work to be the best person you can be. But you also have to look at this and just realize you're given this life. Whether you believe it is the first, millionth, or whatever life you've gotten, you're the one living it right now. So be happy about it. You can go out today and look at the sun and just feel it on your skin. Get that vitamin D in there, because there is one aspect that I haven't touched on yet, and it's you have to eat right. You have to get the proper exercise, just at least a little bit. A little bit. I can't remember precisely who said this, but yes, depression and anxiety are a problem. And some people can't control it. But you are most certainly not helping it by never eating any nutritious food, by never seeing the sun, by never going outside, by never moving enough to get your heart pumping to a proper level. You are not helping yourself. You are deterring yourself from any progress when you decide that healthy coping mechanisms, healthy lifestyles are not what you're doing. You can't sit there and expect even just your mindset to change your depression and your anxiety if you're not doing anything. Like, listen, you are loved, you are cared about, and you are a very lovable person, regardless. I don't care if you woke up today and you decided you chose violence. I don't care if you woke up today and chose violence. You're still lovable, just a little harder to love today, but you're lovable. You have to actually sit back and understand, like, hey, I have to take care of myself to further progress. I have struggled with anxiety and depression my entire life. I'm a product of divorce. My parents divorced when I was roughly 4, I believe. I have a little brother who was 2 years younger than me. And my parents divorced when I was fairly young, so I didn't have to experience that as much as, like, memory recall and all. But I had the side effects of that. There was a lot of bad things that happened throughout this divorce. There was custody battles that got really nasty. There was a lot of bad things that happened in my life. I lived a short period of, well, not a short period. I lived a time in my life where I was pretty neglected, but all is well now for the most part. But there was definitely some dramatic side effects to how I was raised up. And some of that stuff can't be prevented. When your parents are divorced, there's just some things you cannot avoid, especially when your parents do not get along, when they have this bitterness towards each other. Like, I love my parents. I love them both. They are human, they make mistakes, and that is totally fine. What I choose to do in my adult life with my relationship with them is entirely up to me, and I don't have to justify myself to anyone. But I can't deny that I had a rough upbringing. It fed me this depression and anxiety. I didn't realize that I had had anxiety a majority of my childhood. Like, I can recall the first time I got a C. I was in 5th grade. I was walking out of the building and I had a C on my report card, and I almost had a meltdown because I was a perfectionist. I was one of the gifted, quote unquote, students. I was reading at a 12th grade level when I was in like 4th or 5th grade. And I was a perfectionist. I wanted to please everyone. I wanted to be this star child, this prodigal child that everyone loved, and I wanted to be the best at everything. That fed severely into my anxiety, and that did not at all help my depression when I couldn't fulfill these unrealistic expectations. And that's part of positive thinking, is you have to have realistic expectations for yourself. You have to understand that there are some things that's going to take time, and some things that are simply not achievable in a realistic expectation of, like, I want to be perfectly normal. I've always wanted to be a perfectly normal person, but it took some time and some acceptance to realize that there's a lot of things that have happened in my life, and there's a lot of recovery that I've had to make to get where I am. And I'm not normal by any stretch of the imagination. Normal is subjective. Normal is not one baseline thing, like perfect. Perfect does not exist. Normal does not exist. but I wanted to be as close to normal as I could. And I simply could not. I have anxiety, I have depression, but I handle those a bit well, considering, but backtracking a bit, when I was brought up in that situation, I did get those mental illnesses. I was diagnosed with severe anxiety, I believe, when I was in 7th grade by one of my school counselors. And when I was older, I believe either 8th or 9th grade, I was diagnosed with severe depression. I was looking for all of these negative things like, boo-hoo, poor me, I am so depressed because of this, and this. And yeah, I needed to go through these phases to realize that there is a lot better I can do to myself, for myself. But up until I grew out of this, I had to face myself every day. I hated myself. I hated how awful I was to people. I was mean. I was unjustifiably petty. I held on to things very tightly because I felt at that time that the world had done me a great injustice. And in a certain aspect, I was not treated as well as other people have. I've gone through many, many things in my lifetime that most people in their 30s have not had a taste of. But I'm not resentful towards that. I'm not at all feeling like the world owes me something after everything I've gone through. That made me a better person. That changed me. And yes, a lot of it sucked. It did. It sucked while I dealt with it, but now I know how to handle it. Now I can help other people handle it to the best of their abilities and work with people on that. And I'd love to continue to do that. I'd love to do that as a profession, and it's something I'm considering. But I tried my best to help my depression, but at the same time, I was standing in my own way, being this victim. And that's why I will stand by this today. I am not a warrior. I am not a survivor. I am not a victim. I'm hope. And I have had bad things happen to me. And that is simply all it is. Sorry, my alarm went off. But bad things happen. And I have to look at the positive aspects of these. Like, what's the best way to put this? I have been a receiver of pretty much every type of abuse that there is. I have received that form of abuse at least once in my lifetime. I believe to some extent everyone has. Maybe not to the same extent, but I have dealt multiple times with multiple different scenarios where I have gotten severely to moderately to mildly abused in different categories. But I chose the path that there's one of two ways to handle that kind of a situation. You choose to continue the cycle of abuse, and you choose to do exactly what's been done to you to other people because you want other people to feel the same way you felt. And then there's people who have the response that I had to that. I refuse to ever make someone feel the way that I felt. There was a time when I did that to other people because I was a child. I was immature, and granted, I've not reached my full maturity yet, but I was much more immature and naive to the world when I was doing these things. But having grown a bit and gone through more things, I refuse to let anyone feel alone and unloved and just so hurt. No one deserves to feel like that, so I'm not going to make anyone feel like that. And that includes looking at things through a positive aspect and allowing myself to laugh at my mistakes, to make jokes. I have some significantly dark jokes that I tell on a regular basis because I use humor as a coping mechanism. I use a positive attitude to not only deflect negative emotions, but to help other people feel more comfortable. I think everyone should feel good and happy and positive, but I can only do so much. You have to choose to be positive about the rest. That's all on you, honey. But to circle around to my main point, I had done all of these things in my life to try to fix my depression, but it kept coming back. It kept getting worse. But what I wasn't doing is eating right. I wasn't getting out of the house. I wasn't exercising. And so after I'd broken up with my boyfriend, it was in the spring, and I had decided, you know what, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to exercise. And so I started walking as much as I could almost every day, and I would eat healthy. I'd count my calories. And I've dealt with some eating disorders. I've dealt with anorexia. When I was younger, I was bulimic. I was grade school, middle school, I was bulimic. But anorexia was more of a high school thing. But I decided that the best way to go at this was to eat healthy, have a safe calorie intake, not too little, not too much, because I had a habit of restricting myself too tight on my diets and then binging. And that was not good for me. But I started eating better, eating properly, eating a good amount, and it was nutritious. I would go out and have some sunlight and walk around. And granted, that's harder to do in the winter, but it was helpful. I was thinner, I guess. I was healthy. I was at a healthy weight. I felt good. I looked good. And it was amazing. I was so happy. Like, I barely felt depressed ever. My anxieties I could control much better. And it was amazing just how changing my diet and my exercise routine just changed everything. And also, on top of that, actively going out of my way to be like, you know what, this is a negative headspace that I'm in. I need to step out of this. I am bigger than my emotions because I am in control. I am in control. I can choose whether or not I'm going to look at this through a negative aspect or a positive aspect. I am solely the only person who is in charge of my headspace. And so I got up every morning and I chose the positive aspect. I chose to look through the looking glass, the beauty in the eye of the beholder. Everything is beautiful if you look at it through the right lenses. Don't be naive. Don't let people hurt you. Don't let people walk all over you. And sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes people are just really good with their words. But don't look at everything as though it's black and white and misty. Sometimes it's good to just go outside and think, damn, it's gorgeous. Look at this. Look at this. I'm outside. I'm not staring at a screen all day. I am outside appreciating the fact that I can hear birds. I can hear people. These people are living their own individual lives around me. And it's you are in charge. You are in charge. And if no one else will tell you this, I will. I believe in you. I believe that you, yes, you are entirely capable of looking at things through a positive mind. You are capable of changing your mindset. You are capable. You can do this. You are absolutely capable of just being the best version of you and being happy and seeing things positively. It's going to kick your ass at first. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pretend that it's easy. It's easier than you would think, but it's not easy. But you can do it. You can do it. So wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and you tell yourself, I am human. I am worthy of love. I may not be the best that I can be, but I'm going to try to be the best that I can be today. I can slip up. That's okay. I'm going to do my best to not make these same mistakes. Even if I do a couple times on accident, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn to be better for myself and for other people because I care about myself, because I love myself. And you're going to get dressed, you're going to do what you need to do, and you're not going to let anyone tell you that you can't do it, that you can't be a better person, because you can be. If this is the only straight talk you get, fine. Fine, I will be the only straight talk you get. You are capable of changing your life. Your life, no one else's. You can't change what other people do around you, but you sure as shit can change your own attitude. You are capable of doing it. And if you get up and you choose to do this, I believe in you, and I'm going to be right here. And I'm going to be so proud of you. I don't care if I don't know you. I don't care if we're not in the same state. I'm going to be proud of you because you woke up and you made the effort. Because you woke up and you wanted to be a better person. And that speaks words in and of itself. You're listening to this because you want to think positively. You want to be a better person. You want to think better. You want to help yourself. That in and of itself speaks volumes about who you are. You want to be better, and that is good enough to make yourself be better. That is enough juice in your battery to make you better. You are capable. You can do this. Focus on the good things. Laugh at yourself. Look at the bad situations and seek out the positive side. I don't care if you have to sit down for half an hour every day to try to find the good in one situation. You are trying. And that is so good. That is such a great first step. You want to be better. That is the very first step to realizing that you can be better. Because everyone can be better. It's a personal choice on finding the positivity and choosing to be better and find better things. So this is my words of wisdom for the day. This is Hope Only, and you've been listening to I'm the Only Hope. Please tune in whenever you feel like listening to my podcasts. Email me at imtheonlyhopepodcast@gmail.com if you'd like any questions answered, any situational advice, or just if you'd like to hear a podcast about something. I am totally open. I will respond to you as soon as I get the message or as soon as I can. So you're not alone and you are loved. Thank you.